The Association of Washington Business reconfirms its commitment to rural revitalization in Washington state. The 2018 Rural Jobs Summit is AWB's third event in 2 years, focusing on expanding economic opportunity throughout all of our state's rural communities.
We've seen quite the uneven recovery between the urban and the rural areas in Washington state. We discovered this with our members a few years ago, held our first 2 Rural Jobs Summits, and really earned a lot of momentum going into this next session.
Nearly 150 employers, experts, and policymakers gathered at Lower Columbia College in Longview for 2 days of deep discussion.
So our goal today is pretty simple. How do we identify solutions that the legislature can adopt to help rural communities across the state? And second, how do we identify best practices to the challenges that rural communities face?
Thursday kicked off with a look at how traditional rural job opportunities in Washington are still thriving.
The problem I think we have the most is the perception that our industry's dead. Sierra Pacific's invested $1 billion since 2001 in Washington, and we just invested $100 million in a mill in Shelton.
Lunch keynote Dr. Jeff Haney of WSU's Elson S. Floyd School of Medicine stirred up audience participation to help bring to light some of the disparities in rural health care.
We can't create 692 primary care docs for our state overnight. And we have to rethink how we approach healthcare. And what I just showed you all is that I actually don't matter nearly as much as you do.
What was and still is one of the biggest issues for rural areas, broadband access, was on the table again.
We cannot have a conversation about the rural areas in Washington without talking about broadband. We estimate there are between 200,000 and 400,000 Washingtonians that don't have access to reliable high-speed internet in Washington, and that's really holding them back.
Only one child can do homework from 5 to 6 p.m. The other one has to go from 6 to 7, and maybe if they're lucky, mom can watch Netflix and relax a little bit at the end of the night. The way that we look at that, that's a problem.
The day finished with an informative look at gaining access to capital and called attention to limited childcare options in rural communities.
We are a critical infrastructure to our workforce. I have people calling me deciding if they're going to take jobs in our communities based on if they can get a high-quality early learning spot in my center or one like it.
Friday kicked back up with input from Department of Commerce Director Brian Bonlander and Commissioner of Public Lands Hillary Franz.
We want to partner with local communities. We want to partner with the Chamber of Commerce's. We want to economic development councils with the legislators and communities from that district to say, how can we be part of the solution in growing your local community?
Robust discussions on housing, opportunity zones, workforce development, and a federal issues update took us through lunch. The afternoon closed out with words from Senators Marco Lias and John Braun, joined by Representatives Mike Chapman and J.T. Wilcox, where a common theme was the need to reach across the aisle.
These are bipartisan solutions. I come from local government where potholes are not Republican or Democrat. They just need to be filled.
Democrats and Republicans look at the world slightly differently, and we can bring our ideas to the table and have that dialogue.
I want to really applaud AWB. Much of what I usually do, you already did. I look at the materials that were here, your red book and your summary on the rural economy, and you all nail it.
We're using this event to inform us. We're using this event to bring our group together and continue that momentum, continue the conversation, and work towards implementing the solutions that we uncover here.
Brian Temple, AWB News.